Hey, what's up guys? This is Gary and welcome to what should be the last video in the ESTEST migration series. And in this video I'm going to be showing you how to backup and migrate the ESTEST public SVN server, which we use to distribute our software for ESTEST, and this migration is going to take place from estest.ucdavis.edu to the local host. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing what we need to do is to basically migrate the SVN server from estest.ucdavis.edu to the local host. Now, there are a few ways to do this, and you can read about them using the SVN book. And basically, the ways are either using SVN dump load commands, or there is SVN sync, and then there is SVN hot copy as well. Those are the sort of three general methods. We're going to use SVN dump and SVN load using plain text files in this case. So that just ends up being the simplest case. We don't recommend using SVN sync, as that's really provided to create mirrors of SVN servers. And in this case, we're not creating a mirror, we're migrating the SVN server with the full intention that we're going to use the localhost server as the new production SVN server in the future. Okay, so let me just show you how to backup and migrate SVN using the SVN admin dump and load commands. What you need to do is to SSH into the remote SVN server at estest.ucdavis.edu to begin with. So we're gonna go to the local file system location where the SVN server is installed. In this case, you can see here that it's installed in this directory. The SVN command we want to run is svn admin dump and then the path to this ESTEST-svn server. And basically it's going to produce it's going to pipe to standard out, and what we want to do is to save that the dump file into a plain text file. So we're going to redirect the pipe from standard out to the desktop here. We're going to put svn.dump. Okay, so just run this command, and it's going to basically dump all the versions from revision 0 to the latest one, which happens to be 44. Now this is the plain text file that is the entire SVN server for this installation of SVN, and we can copy this around just as we would any other file, making sure to use safe copy methods that don't that don't modify the file in any way. You have to be careful about line endings and that sort of thing. So going back to the local host, what we want to do is to create a new SVN server instance that's just going to be completely blank SVN server. So the command to do that is svn admin create and then the name of the repository. In this case, I'm going to put it right here, and we see that we have a blank repository here, right? Okay, so the way to restore the migration from estest.ucdavis.edu, that SVN, to the local host is to do the complement of dump, which is svn admin load. So the command is this. Okay, but first, before we rerun load, we need to copy the dump file from the remote server to the local host. So the command for do that is scp estest.ucdavis.edu, and then we're going to put that on the local desktop. Okay, so that's done. So like I was saying, we're going to run svn load in this case. So svn admin load, and then we're going to give the path to the blank ESTEST SVN server on the local host, and we're going to pipe in this time the dump file that we just created. So it's going to be slash desktop, and you're just going to run this command. And you see here it's running through each of the revisions one by one, restoring them into the local SVN server that's just been created. And it's basically doing a one-to-one commit of of all the history of the previous SVN at estest.ucdavis.edu. And so, for a lot of commits, this could take quite a long time, which is why SVN dump and load can be done incrementally. But in this case, we're doing a full migration, so we really need to do the entire dump and then the entire load again, which, in this case for 44 revisions is not too bad. Okay, so we have now here that the ESTest, the SVN on the local host is now initialized fully to the entire revision history of the SVN server, and we can check that really quickly by using like an SVN history, for example, on the file path. Sorry, it's the command is svn log, and we can see here that the entire revision history has been restored. Okay, so that's SVN done. Okay, so if we're done with SVN, what we need to do is to configure the Apache web server to be able to recognize our SVN server on the local host. And that's pretty easy to do. All we need to do is to edit the configuration file. And again, we're going to do this using the include file. In this case, it's going to be svninclude.conf. For now, what we want to focus on is this section, this location/svn section. And basically what we're using is the DAV protocol, or using SVN to load this server. And we're going to give it the full path to the server on the local host. We're going to basically ignore some of these directives for now. I'm going to show you how to set those up later. And this is basically a style file, for instance. And we also need this access control list, which I'll show you in a bit. So you can basically just copy and paste this into your own file and save it. For now, we're gonna replace some of the other aliases with comments, just so so these ones here, these other directives in this configuration file is for other configurations that we're going to use later in this tutorial. I will say that these two modules here, this DAV_SVN module and authz SVN module, you may need to load these depending on what your version of Apache is. So these are actually loaded from the system, and if you don't have these, just go into Synaptic and you're going to install something called libapache2-svn. So the package you want to look for is libapache2-svn, and that's going to come from Synaptic on Ubuntu systems. Okay, so just having this configuration now, we can go ahead and basically restart the Apache web server. But first, I'll show you the access control list in this case that was included in that file. And this file, this acls_svn.acl, is basically something like this, where you set up groups and your administrator group is going to be following these usernames, and then you're going to list what permissions everyone has. So, for the administrators, they have read and write, and everyone else, they just have read on this SVN directory. Okay, so that's no problem. So here we want to just restart the web server. And now we can open up here and we can go to localhost. And we can also, /svn. We've configured this SVN to use the LDAP that we previously set up in another tutorial video. So you can go ahead and just sign on. And you can see here that the SVN is now enabled on the web server. Okay, so that's the basic SVN done, but we're lacking a few of the things that we've configured, especially for the ESTEST.ucdavis.edu server. So I'm going to show you how to do those things now. The first thing that we're going to configure, going back to the configuration file svn.conf, is we're going to configure this repos-web directory. And this thing is basically a style file for the SVN index, and it's going to change the look of this basically these web pages, and it's going to make them look a bit better. You can get this repo style from repos-style.com, and you can just download the package. It's going to come in a zip file. What you want to do with that zip file is go to www, and we're going to just unpack it here. So if we unzip repo style 2.4, let's say, we could just inflate that here, and it's going to inflate to something called repos-web, right? And then we basically do those aliases for repos-web, and we're going to use this command, this svn index xslt, and we're going to take the path to the XSL transform. So we can just save this and then quit, and then again we're going to restart the web server. Okay, and now if you go back here and you refresh this, we can see here that the look has changed to something, that looks a little bit better for navigating. Okay, so the final configuration, what we're going to do is to do the configuration for the download page for ESTEST, and I'll show you what that looks like. So if we go to estest.ucdavis.edu, there's this software link or software download, and again, it's going to ask you to sign on. And it's going to look like this, right? If we do it from the local host right now, it's not going to be enabled. It's basically, we haven't set this up. So we're going to set up this web page now. Having the SVN, we can do this. So going back to the configuration svn.conf, this is basically this last set of aliases and directories. We're going to enable all of these. Save this file. Even though we've enabled it, we haven't actually set this up in the local directory. So this is going to come from the GG group SVN, like index came from here. We're going to basically download this again. So if we look at where index.svn, if we look at the head here, this is pointing to the GG group SVN, and we can do the same thing. So if we SVN list this, it's going to have a subdirectory called download, and this is the one we want to get now. So we do svn co download, and we're just going to put it in the www directory. Okay, so now we see here we have a new directory called download. That's fine. And we basically configured it in the Apache configuration. So we have this path here set, and again, this hooks to the LDAP. So we only grant access to this web page from valid users registered with ESTEST. Okay, so I'll show you the entire file now for this svn.conf. It basically comes in a few sections. First, we load the modules for the DAV SVN access for Apache if we need it. Next is a block for the repos-web style for the SVN index. Then we configure the SVN server itself with the style index and the access file that I showed previously. And then we have an alias for the /download for downloading ESTEST softwares. So if we quit this, again, this is included at the end of the main configuration file, httpd.conf, and we can basically again restart the web server. So now if we go to localhost and we click download ESTEST, we're given here the this web page that looks a lot like this, except that you might not see these live distros. So what happens is that if we go to www and we go to download, there's a subdirectory called DL, and in this directory what we really have are the live distros for of ESTEST with Ubuntu. So basically these are image files for CDs. So there's an image in ISO and an image in an MD5, and this will automatically read the contents of this directory and reflect that. We could just sort of show you how that works. If you put anything in these like test.iso test.iso.md5 like that, and we go here and refresh this page. You see here those are reflected back, and then you can download these. Obviously these are just empty files, but you would put the images for the live disk distribution of Ubuntu pre-configured with ESTEST in this case. Okay, so basically now this is done for the ESTEST migration series. We've gone all the way from having nothing on the local host to configuring an Apache with ESTEST, with ExistDB, with discovery and track and movable type, and now finally we're at the SVN stage. It's quite a lot of work to do this migration, but you only need to do it very infrequently when you're sort of changing machines and things like that. And I hope this whole migration series has been useful and that it's led you to a successful migration of ESTest. Okay, thanks for watching.